Okay. So what makes a songwriter successful? Nashville singer-songwriter and performer Lacey Carpenter is here to moderate a panel of songwriters and performers, and they're going to give you their thoughts on what has made them successful. How about a nice round of applause for Lacey Carpenter and our panel?
What a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. Like he said, I'm Lacey Carpenter. I'm one of the co-writers for Profile of a Hit Songwriter, this amazing book. And what's so amazing, incredible, is majority of the people who are in the book are right here today. I'm going to do a quick, brief overview. You can see their bios on our screens. But Richard, could you give us a couple of sentences about yourself?
I'm just going to read this. Looks really good, that does. Who wrote that? Was that me?
I think you did.
Yeah. My name's Richard Harris. I'm not the actor that was in Harry Potter. He's now dead, thank God, so they don't mistake me with him. I'm a songwriter, producer from London, England. I was in bands in the UK. I ran recording studios in the UK, wrote for the band. And then 17 years ago, I kind of rolled the dice when the band thing was falling apart, and I got to get out of Dodge. And I bought a ticket to LA because I wanted to pursue a writing career, and I landed in LA and then just started hustling, coming to NAMM, going to some songwriter events, and got lucky, got signed out of this Durango Songwriters event and to a publisher called Peer Music. And that set the ball rolling. I started to get cuts with various people, some #1 records here and there. A lot of film and TV as well, sync, ads and commercials, and that sort of thing. Anyway, so that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you, Richard. Michelle, would you give us a few sentences on yourself?
This is awesome that I get to look at this because I always forget what I've done when I get up here.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm a songwriter and a music producer, one of the 2% of professional female music producers. So I'm very proud of that and hope there'll be a lot more one of these days. I've been doing this forever. I've had many hit songs in America and all over the world, and over 5,000 music placements in film, TV, games, ads, stuff like that. I don't sleep much. I'm just working all the time. And I actually was signed to a publisher 100 years ago. And 2 publishers actually, but I've owned my own publishing since 1992, and I pitch my own songs and get my own placements, and it is possible. And I have one song, Get Over Yourself, which was a hit from a group called Pop Stars from Eden's Crush. They were in a TV show called Pop Stars, and it was recently named one of the top 100 girl group songs of all time by Billboard. So that was very, very exciting for me. And that's about it. That's enough. You can go on the line and read stuff. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Lacey.
Ted, hey there.
What's up? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Tell us about yourself.
This is better than I can even say it. The best thing about me is that I've been around longer than most people. So I've worked with people who are still here, people like Whitney Houston, Diana Ross, Ringo, just like a zillion names, but wonderful that they all did music. I've done music for Mexican artists, artists around the world, African artists. I lived in Israel for a while. I've done a lot of Christian music, and been fortunate enough to work probably with some of the, there's some of the names that overlap here. I've worked with some of the greatest songwriters, with like Burt Bacharach. I have a Grammy with Burt, and with Burt I work with Brian Wilson, work with Elvis Costello, work with Sir Tim Rice, and just, like a zillion names. But what's most important to me is not the names, it's the relationships, and that I can know people like this up here, and that we all have a spiritual connection, and we, what we do with music, which is special. So I'm really a big believer in music should be enjoyable, fun, and that it's open for everybody, and it's not just restricted to us. Anybody can write a song, and that's what's wonderful about it, and praise the Lord, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Ted. And we have very special, all the way from New York, Edie Nathan. Would you give us a brief sentences about you?
Sure. So, hi, everyone. This may seem a little strange to have a therapist up here. So I'm the one that isn't spoken about. I'm the one that everyone comes to, but you don't know. But when a songwriter comes to me, or a professional comes to me, it's because they're yearning for something, they're grieving, and they're not where they want to be. And so I really help people find their voice so that they can share their voice with all of you and get to the bottom of what keeps them stuck. Because it is that stuckness and the voices that we have within us that create the greatest songs that also interrupt us. So I kind of look at this as a hero's journey, and when it's my turn, we'll talk about how much of a hero you all are.
Yes. What a star-studded group of humans on here. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being part of my panel. You know, in our book, we talk about a lot of things, risks and mentorships and perfectionism. But, you know, I'm going to ask you, Richard, you know, this is something that we've talked about a little bit through our emails. How important is it to have good mentors and collaborate with fellow artists?
Oh, my Lord. Well, I think it's everything. I don't think this is a journey you can do alone. I think we can all point to a lot of different mentors in our lives. Sometimes they're teachers, sometimes they're family members, sometimes they're just good friends. And they're all important, actually, in terms of developing you as a creative human, really, I think. And you have to honor those relationships. And when it comes to mentoring as a writer, I think it's about, we do a lot of our early writing alone in a bedroom, just being scared to play those songs to anybody. You might play them to your grandparents and they go, "It's wonderful, darling, sounds like a song to me." And then you have to kind of overcome that barrier and play it to other people. And then you have to go from that transition to collaborating with other people. And that's actually where everything changes. When you start to work with other writers, and that doesn't necessarily always have to be somebody that's had a ton of experience. It's just somebody with a different viewpoint and a different angle, and can be that person that just taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey, maybe we should try doing it this way," right? And go, "Hey, you know, that hook just doesn't work here. Maybe if we put it in the bridge or we put it in the pre-chorus, it might work." And that is so important as a developing artist and as a developing writer, to have those trusted people. And that's one of the reasons why Pam Shane, who you'll be seeing in a minute, we started this company called Songwriter Camps, which is like a songwriting camp experience for writers to come and write in a camp experience, but being mentored by hit songwriters and producers, and with kind of master classes as well. So we saw the importance of that, what it did for us kind of coming through. And I think you can't do it alone. You just cannot. You're only as good as the network of people that you surround yourself with, you know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Richard. Ted, you talked a lot about perfectionism versus communication in the book. Do you find that letting go of perfectionism and focusing on communication can help in the creation of a successful songwriter?
Well, I've seen the worst songs from some of the greatest songwriters. I mean, literally, like, bad, just bad, you know. So what they do is they're like Michelle. Michelle goes about it like a business, and she goes and she writes every day. So I think sometimes people are looking for perfectionism. They never write more than one song. There was a songwriter in New York I worked for years ago, and he would do one song. Every year we'd do another arrangement of the same song. I was like, you can write 2 songs, you know? So sometimes you want to go back and fix things, but sometimes you have to just know when it's time to let go. And there's also, it's important to collaborate. I like writing in groups of 5, which is nice, because then you have 2 people there working on lyrics, 2 people doing music, somebody there sings, and it's just, I think the communication is the most important part of a songwriting. Some people, like Diane Warren, like to write alone. Some people get, you know, like he was saying, more communication. Somebody saying, try the bridge here, try that. So, you know, I just think that at some point you have to put it out there like a baby. You can't keep your kid home till they're 30. Nowadays you have to because of money, but you have to send the kid out to like fly, like they kick the bird out. So your song is like a baby. You know, put it out there, and you know, maybe you tweak it later on, but you know, let it fly. So that's what I think.
I actually I use a metaphor. You know those, like, you know, animals in the wild, they bring their babies on for so long and they take them out into the middle of a field and then they just walk away and leave them by themselves. And then they never look back. You know what I mean? So I've done what I needed to do. You're on your own. Go into the world. If it doesn't work out, well, sorry. You know, I did my best. You know, treat it that way. Don't get
Yes.
too precious about your song.
Thank you. Thank you. And do y'all have anything to add to those two questions before we move on? You don't have to.
I think that everything they said was right. You know, putting yourself out there is really important. You know, collaborating is like dating. You have to try it. You know, it's very scary. I wrote with a very famous songwriter, Paul Williams, once. He runs ASCAP, and I've written with him more than once. But the first time he came, I mean, the guy's written like the theme to The Love Boat and We've Only Just Begun and the Evergreen, every massive songs. And he came to write with me and I was so scared and he said, no, I'm the one who's scared, he said, because if I fail, I'm a has-been and I look terrible. I'm the one who's scared. And that has always changed my life because it showed me the playing field is equal. We're all scared and we all have to jump in there and we all have to try. So I agree, and we have to put the songs out. Like you're saying, you can't worry that someone's gonna steal your songs. You have to get your songs out there. So if you want to be professional.
You know, yes, absolutely. You got to get your songs out there. You got to get you out there. And getting you out there means that you're willing to take yourself on. And what does that look like, to actually take yourself on? And the perfectionism, the perfectionist, man, that voice, I don't know about you all, but that voice, that perfectionistic voice, it keeps you stuck. There's a show on the Discovery Channel called Naked and Afraid. I kind of think that sometimes being a songwriter is like feeling you're naked and afraid. And you know what? And then when you're naked and afraid, you know what happens? You're isolating. And as our professionals are all talking here, you can't do it alone. Don't let your ego get in the way. So ditto to you all.
Thank you. Michelle, surviving rejection. How can we navigate the industry and focus on our craft while trying to survive through the trail of rejections?
Okay, I don't think anybody gets as much rejection as I do. I mean, I basically market songs 11 hours a day and just get rejected and rejected. And by the end of the day, I have to go read my own credit sheet because, I mean, people can get pretty brutal just to show that they have the power. So, I mean, I can go, some people have said to me, yeah, I know all about your awards and your hit songs, and yeah, and you have nothing I want, without even listening. So this is what we're all up against. It can be dark and bleak, but you know what? The no's don't matter. Only the yeses matter. So every so often you get a yes, and then you don't quit. So every time I think, oh God, I'm gonna quit, I just can't take this rejection all day anymore, I get a yes, and then here we are doing it again. So basically, that's supposed to be inspiring, because the whole point is, who cares who says no? You just keep pushing forward, getting your music out there, pitching your songs, meeting people, co-writing, doing your Spotify and your Facebook and your everything. And every so often you get a yes, and that is what keeps you going. Because some days are even dark for all of us who are successful, whatever success is, because I think success is very relative, you know, and personal. But whatever it is, you know, the days can be dark and you think, oh, you're done, you're a has-been, no one's gonna work with you again, you got old. I mean, all these things. So that's what I think about rejection. I mean, I just get rejected all day long. I usually pitch songs at a pool. I'm always in a bathing suit, ready for a pool to jump in and wash off all of that. So there you go.
Thank you, Michelle. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I do. Well, look, rejection means you're doing something right. You're actually putting your music out into the world, you know? And we've all been in this situation where we've had a complete no. I've been in A&R meetings where in the very same day, I played this one song to an A&R guy, and if he was not looking at his emails and God knows what else at the time, goes, no, it just went too minor in the chorus. I said, well, it's a sad song. I suppose it's supposed to be a minor key. Anyway, move on. Next meeting, I played it to another A&R guy. He goes, I love this song. I'm sending it to the artist right now. It got cut 6 months later. So that doesn't happen every day, by the way. It's happened like once. But you know, that's part of it. You know, you've got to, what we were saying before, let your songs out there do their thing. They will find their home eventually. And I think one of the things that we get stuck, this whole idea of writer's block, which I don't actually believe in. Death is writer's block. That's when you can't write ever again. You maybe, yes, or you lose your hands or something like that, or something tragic happens. I think for you, you have to kind of get used to this idea that you haven't always written your best song. Just know that you're going to write a better song and a better song and a better song each single time, because if you kind of get this into this mindset, well, that's the greatest song I ever wrote, and I'm going to wait for the right artist to come along, don't. Let it go, move on, and if it gets rejected, somebody eventually will find it, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the greatest stories was Whitney Houston's first album, which was one of the biggest selling records of all time, and Clive Davis heard the record and said, there's no hits on here. So it was like, no hits, really? And then I have another friend, Ron Dante. So I don't know if you remember Barry Manilow, but he did all of those big, Barry Manilow was in the 70s, and Clive Davis did the same thing. Clive was really, he'd listen to it and say, I don't like anything. And then after a while, sometimes a song comes back at them and they change their mind. So, you know, like Michelle said, no doesn't mean anything. It just means temporary pause. Sometimes you have to resubmit the song, resubmit the record, resubmit the artist, wait for a different day, wait for the sun to be out, wait for Scorpio to be in the stars. You just don't say no. There's a thing, the race is not given to the swiftest nor the strongest, but to he that endureth to the end. And that's biblical, but it also works with music. So just keep going.
I love that you said that, because I had a big hit all over the world with Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys. It was the solo single from his solo album, and it was like #1 all over the place. I sent it to the A&R person at Jive Records 3 times. And I didn't send it as if I had sent it before. I just sent it again. And finally, he cut it. And now, on the day that the song was released, I got a rejection letter from the song from Clive Davis, who said it wasn't a hit and blah, 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 handwritten from Clive on my lyric sheet, you know. So there you go. So you never know. Right. I just believed in it so much, I kept sending it. Yeah.
And the other thing is that if you think that it has to do with you, it probably doesn't. It probably has absolutely nothing to do with you. And that is why, in terms of removing the ego, it's really important, because if they had a bad day and you wrote a song that reminded them of what a crappy day they had, it's out, man. But guess what? If they had a different kind of day and the same song, the exact same song goes by them, they're like, wow, that's really great. And you're like, they must be taking their meds. So, you know, so like, what's up, you know? So just remember, it's not always about you.
Wait, I want to add one thing. The enemy, if you're a songwriter, is an A&R person who's a songwriter. Forget it. Just leave, go, because these guys didn't make a success as a songwriter, so now they have the power to take songs in, and they're twice as critical. They're like, they'll send you those notes back. It went minor, it went major, it didn't like this, I don't like this, I don't like that. Meanwhile, they're going to go home and they're going to try to rewrite your song. So just look at that as a no, and just never. Just keep going. There's like some of the times the producers, what's his name, Ron Fair? Ron Fair is a songwriter producer. You take your artist, he'll take your artist, take your song, take everything. See you later, bye. Is Ron Fair still in the business? Oh.
We love you, Ron, though.
Love you, Ron, back there. Yeah.
We love you. The one thing so cool about this book that was published by Hal Leonard is we did a little different spin on it. We wanted to take more of a psychological side of it, because I also, not just a musician and songwriter, but I'm also a psychology professor, so hence the reason, so we have to do many different things. But, you know, Edie, we talk about the hero's journey a lot.
Yeah, we do.
I just want you to start talking about it.
Okay,
Go ahead.
you got it. So I want to talk to you a little bit about tenacity. It's, and resilience. Okay, so Lacey over here, she's got a lot of tenacity and she's got a lot of resilience. Now, I was in the middle of finishing my book. Actually, the book was published, and and this little Lacey girl keeps nagging me. I mean, like all songwriters, right? Like, come on, I need you to help me with this book. I need you to help me with this book. No, 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 no. I was the no. I was the no. And finally, she wore me down, and I said yes. Yes, and. And it wasn't a wearing down as she did her due diligence. And that due diligence was so important. She did her homework. She said, I looked at your website. I read your blogs. I was impressed. This is what I liked. And it became personal. So if you can find one personal thing as you're sending that song off, one thing that lets that person know you're not just anybody. Because then she got me to a yes and. And that yes and is so important. And it is really part of this hero's journey, okay? Because a hero's journey, I'm looking around, I don't know where you all are from. I live in New York, although sometimes I'm Southern when I'm with Lacey. And so one of the things that happens is we start with this ordinary life. And this ordinary life is you wake up one morning and you say, I gotta be a songwriter, or I gotta sing, or I gotta play. And I cannot imagine doing anything else. Because if I don't do it, I'm gonna die, and then I won't be writing, right? Yeah. So I'm gonna die, so I gotta write. I gotta write. And then that ordinary life starts to shift, and you start to move, and you move to Nashville, and you move to LA, you move to, I don't know, Kansas City. You move somewhere and you start writing, or you start playing, or you start finding your 5 fellows or gals, and or you go swimming in a pool. And then you realize as you're swimming in that pool that you start to face maybe a supreme ordeal because you've gotten enough no's. And that little voice in you, oh man, quite a character, right? That little voice might be saying, I can't do this anymore. Why am I doing this anymore? I just need a yes. And that little voice can sometimes bring you down if you don't have a strong enough voice within yourself. And that's when you meet that supreme ordeal. And that supreme ordeal makes you face parts of you that you never knew, and that you probably don't want to know, and yet you have to know. Maybe your best songs get written when you face that supreme ordeal. And maybe sometimes when you're in that supreme ordeal, it is dark, it's lonely, and you can't imagine telling anybody what you're going through. But let me tell you, if you sit with it, if you face it, if you join it, if you don't make it a power that overcomes you, but actually you walk with it, and you say, I'm walking with you, you're not taking me over, then guess what happens? Your no turns to a yes and for yourself, and to your music, and to whoever you are, and to however you want to do it. And then you get back to an ordinary life, but guess what? That ordinary life, it's not the same. You can't go back to Kansas the way you came in. Okay, so know that actually I use the Wizard of Oz. Do you all know the Wizard of Oz? Yeah? Enough of you? Yeah? Okay, good. So it's classic. If you haven't seen it or read it, read it. Because she didn't know she had the red shoes. She didn't know she had the power. She was just facing one supreme ordeal after another, and those were her tasks. But you know what? You've got those shoes, and you can walk with them and know your own power as songwriters, as musicians. So don't give up that dream. Don't give up what you know your truth is. And then if it's still nudging you, if it's still loud, go get some help. Talk to someone. You don't have to do it alone, ever. Ever. That sense of community is more important than anything. We are in a community now where there is such aloneness, and the loneliness factor is massive. So the next time you go out with a friend, don't have your phone up and have a conversation with your phone. Have a conversation with them. It might be your next great song.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I told you I had a star-studded panel up here. If you'd like more information about these amazing people, their websites, please take a picture of that. And I'm going to open the floor up. We have about 6 minutes. If you have any questions, please feel free to.
We actually might be able to get one or two.
One or two, and then we'll transition it over.
To Michelle, as a producer, you're writing a song and you think it sounds really good. And how do you know when you're approaching, like a big song that you made, or like, what was your thought when one of your biggest songs finally made it to somewhere? And did you know it was going to, or did you have a feeling like it was going to be something?
That's so interesting. You know, I think it's a miracle every time, right? Every time, this is for me, I don't know about you guys, but every time I write a song, I just try to write the best song that I can. And sure, there are some times when I think, that's really awesome, but I have some songs that I think are amazing. And people will come to me and they'll say, play me something you love that's never been cut. And every time I play, especially one song, they go, yeah, that's nice. What else do you have? So, I mean, I think the song is brilliant and it touches me, but it doesn't touch them. And I think the production is great. But yet other things that I get used time and time again, I'm like, yeah, they're okay. They're okay. I don't think we can be the judge of our own work. We just have to make it so that we love it. That's my opinion, and hope for the best. So I think you have to know, but if you're unsure if your production is great or your song is great, of course, like Edie was saying, like which everybody's saying, play it for somebody, play it for someone you respect, play it for a coach. I teach at this awesome school called songu.com online. It's like Song University, Songu, and you can get song critique for like $5 or something, and you can get some idea of how you're doing, if that's your question. But the other, I don't know. I mean, who knows, All the stars aligned. Well, definitely not my mother.
Yeah. And I think another thing you should try and develop over the years, and this is something that I truly trust more than anything else, is my own instinct, my gut instinct, that little voice inside you that's going, I'm not sure, right, that's done yet. It doesn't feel cooked. It needs more salt, or it needs more pepper, or it needs something in it to get it right. And I think as long as that doesn't continue and it takes you 8 years to write a damn song, I think you have to start developing that idea that your gut instinct is telling you something, and that's telling you to think about it, step back, leave it for a couple of days, come back to it, listen to it again. And if it doesn't say anything, then move on, write something else.
So unfortunately, we've run out of time, but the panel has agreed to meet meet with you and take additional questions over against the back wall. I want to thank I want to thank Ted, Richard, Michelle, Edie, and to our moderator, Lacey Carpenter. How about a nice round for our group?